Okay guys, welcome to week 3. So I hope you've enjoyed the last couple of sessions. We've had some good feedback so far, so hope we can keep going with those improvements. Now, this week, not necessarily a technique lesson, but all a bit more about your equipment. So we're going to have a look at the difference between hybrids and long irons and maybe where we should fit those into the bag. Okay, so let's have a look at a couple of types of clubs. So this is a couple of mine. This is my 3 iron. You see it's a bit of a butter knife. It's my last set, and I've just got a new set with the P790s, and you can still see it's fairly thin, but there's a difference. This actually has a cavity in it, so there's actually a lower center of gravity in this head, which will help me launch the ball higher. Okay, now this is the key, launching the ball. If we can't launch the ball, your irons won't be effective. Now, to launch a ball, there's 3 ingredients we need: speed, launch angle and spin. Now, the lower the launch angle, the more we need to increase the speed of the golf ball. Okay, it's simple as that. Now, if we don't create the speed to hit one of these, then guess what? We need to look at one of these. Okay, now all depends on how much speed you create. I've got a little chart which I'll show in a short while, but essentially the difference between the hybrid here is obviously the lower center of gravity is further back, and then the club head is a bit more shuttle-like. So it really just hits that golf ball. In the southern hemisphere, as you can see, it's designed to hit that ball right on the southern side. Whereas in these, the face is much bigger. You've got to squash the ball into the face to make it climb. So that contact has to be much better, and it must be out the center that we don't lose any distance. Okay, so how do we pick what we're going to go for? Now, there's essentially still about 3 different types of hybrid. You'll see one similar to this before. You could call it a driving iron. This is an adjustable neck on it, so you can change the loft. It does say 3 on it, but you can see from the 3 iron I had earlier, it is still a little bit fatter. So this is much more for a higher club head speed player. Okay. Then we've got the hybrid in the middle. Now you can see the difference, how the center of gravity starts to shift further and further back here with this one. Slightly narrower head than the bigger hybrid. So the center of gravity has moved further back here again allowing us to get the ball in the air quicker. And again, this would be for a medium to high swing speed golfer. Now, for a lower swing speed golfer, we should always be looking at this type of shape in the head. Okay, center of gravity come much further back, and that face is nice and shallow so that we can encourage ourselves to hit the bottom half of the golf ball each time. Okay, now I'm just going to refer to a graph I have. So we're looking at the graph, and we'll see that from the bottom axis, it says club 10 is from pitching wedge. From right so number 10 is pitching wedge, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and so on. Okay, now on the left it shows the actual gap between the clubs. So essentially 5 means 5 yards between each club, 10 means 10 yards, 15 means 15. Now if we look at the blue line, so this is an average 70 mile an hour swing. So the starting line there, then you can see the 9 iron goes about 12 yards further, the 8 iron goes about 12 yards further, the 7 iron goes about 12 yards further, then all of a sudden the 6 iron goes about 11 yards further through the air, and the 5 drops down again to about 9, and the 4 you can see drops to 4 yards difference, and then actually on the 3 iron we lose, we go minus 5 yards nearly. Okay, looking at then a medium swing, you can still see then at the 80 mile an hour, the red line, that from the 5 iron it really starts to drop. And this is the kind of areas you're looking at. So where does that line start to drop? This is about where we should be putting a hybrid into our golf bag. Okay, you can see at the higher end, the 90 mile an hour and the 100 mile an hour swing, the gaps tend to increase a little bit, and they get up to about 15, 18 yards between clubs at the top end there, but they still drop off and start to drop off as you get up to the 3 iron and maybe an old-fashioned 2 iron. So this is where then the slightly less forgiving hybrids, but they'll still help you then increase that, keep that gap going so that you get a decent difference of distance between our clubs. Okay, so we've just done a couple of shot traces, and hopefully you've seen from me hitting a 3/4 4-iron, which it was, versus a 3/4 4 hybrid, just how much quicker the hybrid launched from so much less speed. And I didn't want to hit full shot. There was no point in me hitting a full shot. I can get that 4-iron going. But if I was hitting a 3/4, just how much higher the hybrid here popped it. Okay. Now, how to play them, especially the hybrid, is going to be very similar. Don't get too sweepy, okay? Now, a lot of iron here, you can see the leading edge and the club face is just sort of in line or just behind the shaft. And similar to a driver, this here, the face is just in front of the shaft. So the hybrid, generally speaking, especially a lower centre of gravity one, is a bit more on set. So we can play it very similar to a 3-wood ball position, okay? So making sure that ball is nice and up by a forward ankle. And the important thing is here, don't think sweep. You still want to be getting that ground as you come through. You've still got to get that bottom half of the golf ball, okay? So if we're going to get that bottom half of the ball, the club still needs to be travelling down through that golf ball to make it launch. If it is travelling too sweepy, we're going to hit too low in the face and it's not going to be quite as effective. So still try and get that bottom half of the ball. Now, the nice thing here, a bit like when you learned with wedges over the last few weeks, this has a bounce, yeah? Shove it onto the ground and it will slide along nicely if you stick it down there, okay? If we don't shove it down enough, that ball isn't going to just get up that face quite as effectively, but this will definitely get the ball up in the air quicker and potentially just keep that gap distance going for you.